I did not expect to wake up today to find Círdan the Shipwright has appeared, but he has, and I'm really excited again. I think he looks amazing, like absolutely perfect. This is spot on casting. Ben Daniels just mwah. If you follow me on Threads, you may have already seen that I've just had this outpouring of all my Cirdan knowledge is just coming out. So I thought, let's share it here too. So let's talk about Cirdan and who he is and why he's significant. Cirdan throughout the Second Age and the Third Age is by far the oldest elf in Middle-earth. At the time of Lord of the Rings, he is in excess of 11,000 years old. He is several thousand years older than Galadriel. He is in the third stage of the elven life cycle, which is why he has that growing on his face. He is one of only 2 elves in the entirety of Tolkien that are said to have had beards. The other was Matan, who was the father of Nerdanel, father-in-law of Feanor, and Celebrimbor's great-great-granddad. He had one, but he was a bit weird because he was only really still very young for an elf at the time, but had a beard. Cirdan was born at Cuiviénen. There is sometimes a misconception that he is one of the elves that awoke at Cuiviénen. He wasn't. He was very definitely born at Cuiviénen, and he was of the same generation as Thingol, Finwë, and all them. In fact, his original name was Norway, which fits with the naming conventions of Elwë, Olwë, Ingwe, Finwë, etc. What Norway means, it's from the very, very primitive Eldarin language that they spoke at Cuiviénen, is unknown, but I bet it meant shipwright. I bet he was making like little boats on Cuiviénen, and that's why they called him that. The name Círdan the Shipwright, to call him Círdan the Shipwright is a tautology because Cirdan itself is Sundarin for shipwright. So Cirdan was at Cuiviénen when Orome turned up on his horse, named after the noise he makes, and first met the elves. Cirdan was there and then joined them obviously on the great march westward across Middle-earth all the way to Beleriand. Cirdan was of the Teleri of the 3 tribes of elves. He was of the 3rd tribe, the largest tribe, the Teleri, and he was related to its king, Elwë Singollo, later known as Elu Thingol. In fact, he is Telerin royalty because he is related, as I say, to Elwë, who became King Thingol in Middle-earth, and also to Olwë, his brother, who became king of the Teleri in Aman. More than anything, since the moment he heard of them, Cirdan wanted to see the 2 trees of Valinor, Laurelin and Telperion. He was desperate to see them. When they reached the coast of Beleriand, Ulmo brought over Tolaresia to act as like a ferry, and all the elves got on. At this point, though, Thingol had gone missing, so Cirdan didn't leave because of his love and loyalty to his king and kinsman Thingol. Aresia went, Aresia came back. This was its last trip though. It was now or never for Cirdan to see the trees, but still Thingol was missing, so he remained, and he never got to see the trees. Having missed the ferry that was Tolaresia, Cirdan considered building his own boat and going, but a message from the Valar came into his heart then, telling him that no boat he could build could at that time withstand the journey across the sea. The message said that there would come a time when his work would be of the utmost need, and then a ship of his would sail, at which point he saw a vision. This ship was Vingolot. And indeed, it would end up being like over 10,000 years before he got to go to Aman at all. And all because Thingol spent 211 years looking at a woman in a forest. Despite being desperate to go to Aman and see the trees, Cirdan eventually vowed that he would not leave Middle-earth until every other elf that wanted to leave Middle-earth had had the opportunity and gone. Cirdan and his people decided to settle on the shores because they had come to love Osse, one of the Maya of Ulmo. The Quenya form of his name is Kiriatan, if anyone's interested. Not that it would have ever been used. He fostered and helped raise Gil-galad, the last king of the Noldor, who was sent to him as a child along with his mother to keep him safe in the Falas. Sent by his father Orodreth, don't come at me for this, you know it's true. In the Second Age, Cirdan was entrusted with one of the 3 elven rings of power that Celebrimbor made, Narya. However, when a certain old man turned up at his harbour, Cirdan was one of the few who could perceive his true nature, and so gave this old human-appearing man his ring of power. The old human man was, of course, Gandalf, a Maya sent to Middle-earth by the Valar to help in the fight against Sauron. He is related to both Galadriel and Celeborn, like most of the elves are related in some respect or another. We don't know their exact relation because Cirdan is just described as a kinsman of Thingol, but He's then also a kinsman of Olwe, Thingol's brother, who is Galadriel's grandfather, and therefore also of Thingol's other brother Elmo, who is the grandfather of Celeborn. Yes, Galadriel and Celeborn are second cousins. Through Thingol, he is also related to Elrond, and through Olwe again to Gil-galad, but he's not related to Celebrimbor. He's also really randomly related to Voronwe, you know, the Noldorin elf that helps Tuor go to Gondolin? Yeah, because Voronwe is half Sindar, and apparently Voronwe's Sindarin mother is related to Cirdan as well. He's just got family everywhere. Like most of the Telerin royal family, and unlike the majority of the rest of the Teleri, Cirdan was described as having long silver hair and his eyes were keen as stars, which is very beautiful and poetic, but I don't really know what it means. Does it mean they sparkle? What? Oh, it was Cirdan who told Thingol about the kinslaying at Alcolonde. Disaster struck for Cirdan when, after the Nirnaethon Oediad, the forces of Morgoth swept across Beleriand and reached Brythonbar and Eglores. Though his people put up a great fight, both cities fell, and most of his people, the Falathrim, the people of the coast, were either killed or enslaved. A few managed to escape, including Cirdan and his ward, a young Gil-galad, and they fled to the Isle of Balar. After the fall of the Falas, Torgon, king of Gondolin, sent word to Cirdan asking him to send ships across the sea and beg for help. Cirdan built 7 swift ships and sent them off, but none ever returned, and in fact only one sailor actually survived from any of those ships. All the others drowned, and that sailor was Voronwe, his kinsman, who went on to help Tuor. After the fall of Gondolin, which led to Gil-galad's proclamation as the High King of the Noldor, Cirdan became friends with, amongst the refugees from Gondolin that came to the havens of Cirdan, one Eärendil the Mariner. Cirdan then helped Eärendil in the building of the very famous Vingolot, probably the most famous and most significant ship in Tolkien history. It was Vingolot that would become the magic flying boat from which Eärendil slew on Calagon and carried the Silmaril around the world as a star. While probably unknown to both of them, at one point Cirdan's life was saved by Feanor. After the first battle where Thingol prevailed with the help of the Lyquendi, the Falathrim found themselves under siege by the forces of Morgoth. Then, who should arrive in the north, causing all the orcs to be directed that way, but Feanor and his sons. The siege of the Falas was abandoned in favour of attacking the incoming Noldor, and the Falas and Cirdan were saved. Cirdan was in charge of transporting the Edain from Middle-earth to the newly raised island of Elena, what would become Numenor. Cirdan oversaw the whole process, choosing personally every elven captain and helmsman on the small boats that took the Edain over. The boats were so small and the amount of people and possessions that needed transporting was so great that the process took over 50 years. I'm running out of time! Cirdan participated in the War of the Last Alliance, and throughout the Third Age he supported Arnor in their wars with Angmar and the Witch King. Cirdan did eventually leave Middle-earth on the very last ship that ever went. The exact date's not known, but it would have been a few centuries into the Fourth Age. Accompanying him on that journey was Celeborn, and it is said that with them they took the last living memory of the Elder Days in Middle-earth.